Prosecutors in Wisconsin are attempting to modify the bond and release conditions for Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle is a teenager accused of shooting 3 people in Kenosha, Wisconsin, killing 2 and severely injuring the 3rd during the mostly peaceful yet fiery protests in Kenosha following the officer-involved shooting of Jacob Blake. Now, for Kyle's part, he has argued that all of the shootings were justified by a use of self-defense under Wisconsin law. And as a defense attorney who has reviewed the video evidence as well as the prosecutor's criminal complaint against Kyle, I have to agree. This looks like a very, very straightforward case of self-defense, and I think it's actually embarrassing that they're bothering to prosecute him at all following what's written in the criminal complaint. I've covered this extensively when it happened, so we won't go back into that. Now we're going to talk about the release conditions themselves, what the prosecutors are seeking to modify and why, and the reasons are stupid. So let's keep that in mind, but I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm also going to say that they will likely get the modifications because Kyle has already basically agreed to them. And before anybody jumps on Kyle for that, just hear me out. Okay. So here's the story. It's from CNN. I'll include the link in the description below, but let me save you the indignity of clicking on a CNN article. I will take that sword for you. Look, I'm going to summarize what's going on here. So following Kyle's arraignment, he went with his mother to a pub in Kenosha, Wisconsin, something that I personally wouldn't recommend to one of my clients in Kyle's situation, but he did. At that pub, he consumed a beer. Kyle is 18 at this point, and he consumed a beer at the pub. Now, in many places, that would be illegal, but in Wisconsin, if you are present with one of your parents or both of them, you are allowed to consume an alcoholic beverage at an establishment like a pub or a bar or a restaurant which serves alcohol. So Kyle had a beer. Now, a Karen in the crowd saw this and reported this to the court as a potential violation. The court looked at it and said there is no violation because there was no restriction on consuming alcohol for Kyle, and there was nothing wrong or illegal about what he did. Now, in the wake of that, however, they're asking for modifications. And the first modification is no more alcohol. And this is kind of silly because there's no indication that alcohol has any impact or bearing on the crime itself. There's no allegation that Kyle was intoxicated during the alleged criminal act. So there's no rational relationship to alcohol in this case, but it's an easy one for them to say, okay, he won't consume any more beers. Great. So they've agreed to that one. The other one is the real stupid part. While at the bar, it is alleged that Kyle flashed a racist sign. This one. Okay. Allegedly, okay is now racist. And if you don't know the backstory on this, I won't bore you, but some moron on the internet decided that okay was racist and stood for white power. And because of that, it now apparently is, even though it isn't. But that's beside the point. They have, because they saw him flashing this very racist symbol that millions of people use pretty much daily, they are now saying that he is no longer allowed to display racist signs or associate with known hate groups or individuals. Now, this is probably based on the Southern Poverty Law Center's list, and we could talk all day about how ridiculous the Southern Poverty Law Center is. That's not the thing here. The specific group that they mentioned was the Proud Boys. Now, why is this important to the prosecutor? Well, the prosecutor is going to misrepresent things and suggest that Kyle's association with the Proud Boys would be juror intimidation. We don't know how they logically get there. I don't know that the Proud Boys run around threatening jurors in various jurisdictions, but maybe that's the theory that the prosecutor is running with. Now, here's the problem for the prosecutor. There's no evidence or indication that Kyle has ever associated or even spoken with a member of the Proud Boys or any other quote-unquote hate group. And as such, his attorney has said that they agree to the conditions because Kyle is not a racist and does not associate with any quote unquote hate group or the Proud Boys. So there's no problem for him to not associate with them now. He doesn't associate with them currently. He has no particular plans to associate with them at all. And therefore, there is no issue with this bond condition. Now, again, before you jump on Kyle Rittenhouse or his defense attorney, I should say, for acquiescing to ridiculous and boldly stupid demands of the prosecutor, let me humbly suggest that this is the best course of action for Kyle. And let me remind everybody that Kyle is currently fighting for his life. If he is found guilty of these charges, he will go to prison likely until he is dead. So this is very much a life and death fight for him. And this is not the place to fight the culture war on behalf of everybody else. That's what the prosecutor wants to happen from this. The prosecutor wants to try and inject race into a situation where a white person shot 3 other white people. That's the goal here. Because remember, the underlying text of this, the reason Kyle is even charged in this case is because a police officer shot Jacob Blake. And that made a bunch of activists from Black Lives Matter and Antifa very, very angry. So as retribution for a police officer shooting Jacob Blake, probably because they knew it would be a long shot getting a charge against the officer, especially because Jacob Blake is now revealed to have had a knife, something many people had credibly alleged at the time of the incident, but now it has been confirmed by investigators who said it is irrefutable that the officer was justified in that shooting. They knew they would not get a charge against that officer, so instead they took the opportunity to try and transpose the issue onto Kyle and to somehow make Kyle into a racist. This helps with the program of vilifying Kyle to gin up support for their own agendas, the prosecutors' agendas, and any other sort of pandering politician who have attached themselves to this issue. It sucks, it's stupid, but that's what they're doing. And it's not Kyle's job to engage in that fight. If he engages in that fight and he tries to argue that the OK sign isn't racist, or he tries to argue something like the Proud Boys aren't a hate group, then he's engaging in accepting the premise of their words, at least on their face, and trying to counterpoint them by facts. And while that may be a noble endeavor in some people's minds, it's a pointless fight over bond conditions, which he has no intention of violating anyway. It is a much better optic and a much better tactic to obviate that question, say that Kyle is not a racist, as the prosecutor is claiming, and has no association with any of these groups, as the prosecutor is trying to improperly imply, and to just say, we have no problem with these conditions. They're fine. No use fighting over something like this. The culture war can be fought elsewhere than in the case where your life is on the line. So they're going to likely get these modifications because they've agreed to them. And typically, even in criminal cases, when two parties agree, the courts tend to go ahead and go along with that agreement unless it is way outside the lines. Nothing about this is outside the lines per se. It's just absurd. But I wanted to come on and explain this. If you like these sort of legal explanations, please like and subscribe to this video and this channel. Also, drop a comment below. Tell me what you think about Kyle Rittenhouse, the judge, the prosecutor, the defense attorney. Tell me what you think about Lynn Wood, who may be representing Kyle in a defamation case. We don't know. Go ahead and tell me what you think down in the comments. I love to see your thoughts, and I will see you very soon. Peace be with you.